है। कई सामाजिक संगठनों से वे जुड़े हुए हैं और उल्लेखनीय सेवाओं के लिए राष्ट्रपति के द्वारा भी आप सम्मानित हुए हैं। आज के हमारे ऐसे माननीय वक्ता जी से मैं आग्रह करता हूं कि वे आज का जो प्रबोधन करें। श्री D.R. कार्तिकेयन।
Namaskar. Good morning to all of you. Maaf karna apne. I am going to speak in English. Is it okay? Because, you're all going to be journalists, English, of course, Hindi is a must national language. If we're going outside, we have to be conversant, familiar with English also. I wanted to be a journalist. My first love was journalism. But I am from a village, a farming family. Our education was, everything was in Tamil, village, panchayat school. So when I wanted to become a journalist, because even now I feel, it is only field where the youngest person, 20, 22, can make a huge contribution to the society. In no other walk of life you can make a big contribution at that young age. An individual, that influence even then, that was about 55 years back I'm talking about, when I was 20. But then I realized my English was poor, because I learned everything in Tamil language. And at that time, the regional language journalism had a very limited scope future. Today is much better. So I thought, if I don't have a command on the English language, I can never be a first-class journalist. So I gave up that idea. Then I became a lawyer. I did some agriculture in between when my father was ill. Then at his instance, I appeared for the Union Public Service Commission. I got qualified to many services, but I said if I'm going to be in government service, it should be an active service. So I opted for the Indian Police Service. We had tough times, but no regrets, because next to journalism, it is in the police service you can do maximum service to the people. If you are committed, honest, prepared to take risks, you can do wonderful service. So I missed my first love, journalism. My second love was Indian Police Service, where I have done reasonably well, I think so. Professor Kutiala, Shri Deepak Sharma ji, members of the learned faculty, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be here. I have great admiration for this university, led by the inspiring leader, Professor Kutiala. I had been here a couple of years back for a very short visit. I was looking forward to this visit for a longer stay. But we have lost the greatest of living Indians, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, whom I had known for 35 years. So I was in two minds. Though the Vice Chancellor gave me the liberty, if I want I can call it off. But then Dr. Kalam always said, you must honor your commitments. I have done it 50 years. I have not cancelled a single program of mine without the consent of the organizer. So I was traveling. I was in Hyderabad, went to Delhi, paid my respect to that great personality, spent some time. Then people said, sir, you go ahead with your commitment. So I came for my commitment. I was telling Dr. Sashikala that I'm still told my office. So I was just sending messages to my secretaries. They're working on the flight possibilities. Because Bhopal, is a great city. I love Bhopal. I come for the National Judicial Academy also. The only problem is the connectivity is not good. Air connectivity is not like any other major cities. I think the government should ensure that more connections are there. I can go to Bombay only at 4 o'clock and from there, today not many flights are there. But maybe it's a way that's you have kept the city so beautiful, it's clean, green. I love this place. So I congratulate all of you for living in this place. And journalism is the most important. I will come to that a little later. Now, I will just go through my prepared speech part of it, and I come to the subject. In the world today, media has become as necessary as food. Earlier I had written food and clothing. It is more important than clothing, but certainly as necessary as food. It's playing an outstanding role in strengthening the society. It's a mirror of the society. Its duty is to inform, educate, and entertain the people. Media is the watchdog of the political democracy. If it plays its role honestly, it will be a great force in building the nation and a just and fair society. Makhanlal Chaturvedi Rashtriya Patrakarita Vishwavidyalaya Bhopal is perhaps, it is the oldest I know, largest and the largest of media universities, national university in the country, devoted to media and communications, including the IT. I think there are two other younger universities, but they have got very few courses, very few students also. Aptly named after the renowned freedom fighter, poet and journalist, it's a member of the Association of Commonwealth Universities. It has jurisdiction throughout the country with hundreds of study centers all over, with a total student strength of, I believe, 2 lakhs of people, according to the Vice Chancellor, all over students. It has produced many PhD scholars. It runs many in-service programs, prepares textbooks on media, conducts national dialogue on social media and societal issues like poverty alleviation, ethics and media, diversity and plurality, issues of tribals. Consistent with the recent trend of globalization and internationalization of education, the university is imparting education outside the country also. The university has research chairs for research in varied subjects like relevance of ancient scriptures and traditions. It's a very beautiful idea. It had published over 50 books and is still bringing out many periodic journals, many publications to its credit, including on subjects like yoga and spirituality, which is the flavor of the season today all over the world. We recently had the International Day of Yoga, and the whole world is showing a lot of interest. I was in Kaivalyadam Ashrama last week, that is, in between Pune and Bombay, at Lonavala. It is the oldest yoga research center, started by Swami Kolyananda, who taught yoga asanas to Mahatma Gandhi also. The university has a huge responsibility not only to impart knowledge and skills, but more important, the right attitude and values, including integrity, truthfulness, accuracy, objectivity, impartiality, fairness, and public accountability. The media and communications play a very vital role in the lives of individuals, families, and the nations. I would like to some of the quotes of eminent personalities. I will not mention the names now. Journalism is an act of faith in the future. You shape the future of the society and the nation. When there is no freedom, there is no creativity. So you ensure there is a freedom. Journalism is literature in a hurry. It's a literature, but you have to do it quickly, but it forms the base of the literature. News is only first rough draft of history. The history is written on the basis of what is published today over a period of time. In modern society, news media have become the chief purveyor of information and opinion about public affairs. There are several different forms of journalism, all with different intended audiences. In modern society, prestige journalism is said to serve the role of the fourth estate, acting as watchdogs on the working of the government and political parties. Other forms of journalism feature different formats and cater to different intended audiences. Objective journalism is the desire and aim of every society and media house. Journalists in many nations have some privileges, and members of the general public do not have them, including better access to public events, crime scenes and press conferences, and to extend interviews with public officials, celebrities, great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Aurobindo. They all started their career as journalists. Dr. Kalam didn't start as a journalist, but he became a great writer. Some more quotations of famous personalities on the importance of what you have taken up. I know very well you have chosen this, but I want you to be reassured that you have taken the right path. So that focus wholeheartedly in what is being taught here. And what you are going to learn here is only how to learn. You will be learning much more in the University of Life when you leave this university and go out. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. I am quoting great personalities. They have the power to make the innocent guilty, that also happens, and to make the guilty innocent, that is the power, because they control the minds of the masses. As you know, even the judges get influenced by a sustained campaign in the media. Social media is the ultimate equalizer. It gives a voice and a platform to anyone willing to engage. Technology and social media have brought power back to the common man, people. The news media are, for the most part, the bringers of bad news. And it is not entirely the media's fault. Bad news gets higher ratings and sells more papers than good news. All of us who professionally use the mass media are the shapers of society. We can vulgarize the society, we can brutalize it, or we can help lift it onto a higher level. In day-to-day commerce, television is not so much interested in the business of communications as in the business of delivering audiences to advertisers. People are the merchandise, not the shows. The shows are merely the bait. I am not saying, I am quoting great personalities. The James Madison Jr., who was the American politician and fourth president of the United States of America, one of the founding fathers of the United States said, I quote, "The advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty, and you have the responsibility to discharge the sacred duty." Do you know we are ruled by the television? Nowadays, mostly like that, you know. People are sheep. TV is the shepherd. The great English author, now journalist, George Orwell said, I quote, "All the papers that matter live off their advertisements, and the advertisers exercise an indirect censorship over news." Then the American singer, poet James Douglas Morrison said, I quote, "Whoever controls the media controls the mind." That is why there is so much of competition in the corporate world and among political parties to influence the media, because through them they can influence the mind of the people. Now, how things can be changed, and what is the biggest force that can help in bringing the change in the people and the society? Only the media brings awareness to the people. That awareness triggers thinking. Once the people are more aware, it will automatically make them think of good and better ways to create a good and just society and a better functional democracy and good governance. It is imperative to disperse right and unbiased information through right and unbiased channels to have most effective communication. You know, very often we want to know where the truth lies. You have to keep on surfing half a dozen channels to arrive at what can be the truth, because some channels, some anchors take certain lines. You know, you can say that they've got likes and dislikes. So unless you see 3-4 channels, you don't know where the truth lies. You know, unfortunately, that is a fact. The media can help people themselves closely monitor the performance of their elected representatives and to convey their requirements to their representatives. In the last 50 years, the media influence has grown exponentially with the advance of technology. First, there was the telegraph, then the radio, the newspaper, magazines, television, now the internet and social media. We live in a society that depends on information and communication to keep moving in the right direction and do our daily activities with work, entertainment, health care, education, personal relationships, traveling, and anything else that we have to do. A common person in the society, in the city, usually wakes up, checks the TV news on newspaper, goes to work, makes a few phone calls, eats with their family when possible, and make the decisions based on the information that he has either from their co-workers, news, TV, friends, family, financial reports, etc. Of all the media distribution channels, the most influential has been the television. We are constantly exposed to thousands of images of violence, advertising, sex, celebrities, and much more. In fact, it is known that a child is exposed to about 40,000 ads, child time, a year. The media has undoubtedly evolved and become more active over the years. It is the media only who reminds politicians about their unfulfilled promises at the time of elections. TV news channels, excessive coverage during elections helps people, especially illiterates, in electing the right person to the power. TV and radio have made a significant achievement in educating the rural illiterate masses, in making them aware of all the events in their language. Coverage of exploitative malpractices helped in taking stringent action against them by attracting government's attention. Some of these investigative journalism, some of the biggest frauds, scams have been brought to light by the action of a single young journalist reporter. That's why he said, no other field of activity, the young person can do so much of good to the society as you can do when you walk out of the portals of the university. So that is the biggest challenge. I have seen people who have cub reporters when I was Deputy Commissioner of Police Law and Order in Bangalore. They will all come and sit in front of my office the whole day because there will be some violence, some trouble. Immediately they will jump into the follow vehicle, come and cover. Today they're all holding high positions in the media where, politicians, long for their interviews, support them. They have grown like that. They have all worked very hard. They have taken a lot of risks also. They have come up in so much in life. They are international media and national media also. The impact of media is really noteworthy. It can do harm also, as I mentioned to you earlier. Excessive coverage or hype of sensitive news has also led to communal riots. There are instances. Illiterates are more prone to provocations than the literates. Constant repetition of the news, especially sensational news, breeds apathy and insensitivity. For instance, in Dhananjoy Chatterjee case, the overloaded hype led to death of quite a few children who imitated the hanging procedure, which was repeatedly shown in many TV channels at that time. There is a plethora of such negative impacts. Media should take utmost care in airing or publishing such sensational news. So no one is perfect in this world, and so is the media. Here I am not degrading the media. Rather, I would say there is a lot of scope for improvement by which media can raise up to the aspirations of the people for which it is meant. I cannot think of a democracy without active, honest, and neutral media. Media is like a watchdog in a democracy that keeps governments active and alert. From being just an informer, the media has now become an integral part of our society. With the passage of time, it has become more matured and more responsible entity by and large. The present media revolution has helped people in making informed decisions, and this has led to the beginning of a new era in democracy. The media, along with art and literature, must help the people in their struggle against poverty, unemployment, corruption, injustice, and other social evils in contemporary India. In developing countries such as India, the media have a greater responsibility to fight backward ideas such as casteism and communalism and help the people in their struggle against poverty and other social evils. Countries like ours are passing through a transitional age between a feudal society and a modern industrial society. This is a painful and agonizing period. A study of the history of England in the 17th and 18th centuries and of France in the 18th and 19th century shows that such transitional periods are full of turbulence, turmoil, revolutions, intellectual ferment, and so on. It was after going through this fire that modern society emerged in Europe. Today in India, there is a total disconnect between the media and demonstrated reality, it seems very often. A speech delivered by the celebrated journalist P. Sainath, Rural Affairs Editor of the Hindu and Magsaysay Award winner in the Parliament House in Speaker's lecture series, reveals some facts, which I will quote now. The mass reality in India, which has over 70% of the people living in the rural areas, is that rural India is in the midst of the worst agrarian crisis. As you are aware, suicides are going on. I am from a rural background. I know very well how there is so much of uncertainty in the profession of agriculture today. Most of the youngsters are moving out of agriculture from villages to towns because there is no surety. Either the crop fails because of excessive rain or no rain, or even when there is a plentiful crops, the price is not there. With the result, people, you see the large number of people are committing suicide, even in prosperous districts like Mandya in Karnataka. 30 people have committed suicide in one month or so. So, this is because of a lack of attention on the part of the government also. They have not paid sufficient attention to this problem. And so also the media also has been neglecting what is happening in the rural areas in this sector. Lakhs of farmers have committed suicide and millions of people have migrated from rural areas to cities and towns in search of jobs and start living even in slums. They have moved towards the status that is neither worker nor farmer. Many of them end up in domestic laborers or even enter into the profession of criminality. According to the National Sample Survey, the average monthly per capita expenditure of the Indian farmhold is 503 rupees. Out of that amount, 55% is spent on food, 18% on fuel, clothing and footwear. I am quoting Sainath. The average rural family now consumes significantly less than what it was consuming earlier. So indebtedness has doubled over the past decades. So there were 512 accredited journalists covering the Lakme India Fashion Week. But there were only 6 journalists to cover the suicide in Vidarbha in that Fashion Week program. It was last year. The models are displaying cotton garments, while the men and women who grew the cotton were committing suicide. Just an hour away from Nagpur, in the Vidarbha region, very few told that story, excepting 2 journalists at that time. Can the media turn a Nelson's eye to the harsh economic realities that over 75% of the people face? The media has always been playing the main role in providing information to us. Whether it covers education, information or entertainment, gaining the latest news on these topics has been made easier nowadays with the help of the media. A recent study estimated that 65 to 85% of young children are viewing with families, where more than half are viewing with their parents. But on the other hand, some people tend to misuse the media as a way to get out of family crisis. As I mentioned, media is the watchdog of the political democracy. If it plays its role honestly, it will be a great force in building the nation. Media has become very often a commercialized sector, eyeing only for news that is hot and sells. Instead of giving important information and educational programs, very often all that one gets on TV is sensational depiction of all news stories. Every issue is hyped for a day or two, so much so that you switch to any channel, they will always be flashing the same story, but then when the heat is over, there is no following of the case. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would repeat, media is an integral part of our society, but that's also a fact There is too much intervention in everything is a matter of concern. Just for making money, an insignificant news is given so much priority that the real news is not even brought into focus. In spite of sometimes being sensational biased, the significance of media cannot be ignored, especially in an age in which globalization and liberalization have become the order of the day. In this globalized world, tasks and duties of media are increasing day by day. There is still a lot to be done by the media for the betterment of the society. Coming to the social media, it has helped make real the idea of a global village. Personal computers and the speed of the optic cable in the transfer of information have marked the modern revolution and almost removed the limitations of time and space. Social media's quick development into an important way to influence society is part of the advancement of information communication technologies. The quick development of mobile technology and different mobile terminals has been important for the creation and use of social media. A modern, well-equipped smartphone can be a pocket-sized mega studio. Another aspect is community radio. Community radio in rural and isolated areas. Do you read with community radio? Subject is here? Do you have? Anyhow, it has been brought to me by a person who is really agitated about this neglect. He says, after all, like most animal species, our primary means of communication is through sound. A baby cries, a mother soothes or sings, a dog barks, a cow moves, a bird chirps. Each sound carries a message, and that's precisely what radio does. It is the closest artificial means of communication to our natural means of communication, the transmission of sound conveying a message. Across the world, radio still remains the most easily and widely accessible medium, and therefore is a powerful tool for development communication, especially within isolated, socially neglected and less privileged communities and where literacy connectivity is low. There is no denying that radio remains an important and relevant medium even in these days of internet and social media. It is immediate, portable, inclusive. According to UNESCO, I quote, as radio continues to evolve in the digital age, it remains the medium that reaches the widest audience worldwide even today. In 2006, the Indian government revised its existing community radio policy to allow NGOs and community-based organizations to apply for licenses, enabling them to run their own stations. In India, where around 350 million people are illiterate still, 250 million live below poverty line, 50% of the children are undernourished, 650 million people lack basic sanitation, community radio has a huge role to play. However, despite the medium's immediate potential to fuel social change, only 61 out of the 171 stations in India are run by organizations focused on development. I am sure that the university will take up a research study on this, why it's so and what can be done. Consistent and meaningful interactions with India's community radio practitioners and policy community, as well as a deep understanding of the realities and challenges that are central to the medium in the country and across the globe, continues to keep the PPC's model of growing community radio in India dynamic, collaborative, intuitive, and bottom-up. So why become a journalist? We all know why we become a journalist. But broadly, apart from the making a living, money apart, the desire to write, many young people who see themselves as future novelists choose journalism as a way of earning a living. Many great novelists of today started as journalists. The desire to be known, that is a tendency on the part of every human being. Most people want their work to be recognized by others. You will not be a good journalist if you care more for impressing your audience than for serving their needs. Then another cause is the desire to influence for good. Knowing the power of the printed or spoken word or image, especially in rural areas, some people enter journalism for the power it will give them to influence people for the good of the society. So there is a strong belief that journalists control the mass media, but the best journalists recognize their roles as servants of the people. They are ready to champion the cause of the underdog and expose corruption and abuse of office. Then another cause is the desire for knowledge, to improve the knowledge. Lots of young men and women enter the profession of journalism with the desire to know more about the world, about them, without needing to specialize in limited fields. Most journalists tend to know a little bit about lots of things rather than a lot about one limited area. Knowledge has, of course, many uses. Then another reason is an interest in life. You must be interested in the world around you. You must want to find things out and share your discoveries with your readers. So you have become a journalist. You cannot be a true journalist, true great journalist, without having a deep love of the language. In whichever language you have chosen, whether it's Hindi or English, ideal will be both in Hindi and English because you will have a wider opportunities. The news story, the basic building block of journalism, requires a simple, uncomplicated writing style. People trust journalists with facts, either the ones they give or the ones they receive. You must not be careless with them. All journalists must aim for accuracy. Without it, you lose trust, readers, and ultimately your job also. With plenty of experience and practice, you will develop a special awareness of what makes news. Sometimes called news sense, it is the ability to recognize information which will interest your audience or which provides clues to other stories. And one more quality which is necessary is a suspicious mind. Don't accept whatever is told to you readily. Examine it carefully. If you suspect you are being given inaccurate information or being told deliberate lies, do not let the matter rest there. Ask your informant more questions. Question them. Get the truth. Then you need more than anything else determination. Some people will call it aggressiveness, but we prefer the word determination. It is the reality to go out, it is the ability to go out, find the story and hang on to it until you are satisfied you have it in full. Ask hard questions till you get the right answers. Reliability is, of course, the most important in any walk of life, particularly for journalists. This is a quality admired in any profession, but is especially valued in journalism, where both your employer and your audience rely on you to do your job. To summarize, there are many reasons for becoming a journalist and many types of journalists to become. It's a career with many challenges and enormous rewards. Journalists must have an interest in the world around them, love the language in which they want to communicate, have an alert and ordered mind, be able to approach and question people, always be polite but firm, be persistent, be friendly and reliable, because this is very, very important. I must comment to the... In my book, Rajiv on the Rajiv Gandhi assassination, is called Triumph of Truth, which was released by Dr. Abdul Kalam as President of India. I had given acknowledgement. I thank even the media for that, because I believed in transparency throughout my service. I said, you can't keep the media in darkness. If you have nothing to hide, why keep it? So, during that investigation, it was sensation all over the world. Some of the papers like Frontline, they brought on, doubled, tripled, 3 times their issues. I remember one Frontline issue in Calcutta sold in black market for 10 times more the price, because so much of media interest was there. So one day I got a letter from the director of CBI. I was joint director. On the request of the government, I took up the investigation because nobody else was prepared to take up the case. He said, everything is coming out in the media. When I go to tell the Home Ministry, he says it's already in the media. So please avoid the media. At that time it was confidential, now it's no longer. I got very upset. I consulted my senior colleagues and wrote a letter. I didn't ask for the job. You persuaded me I took up the job. And the only way I can do the investigation is keeping the media informed. If I do not share with the media, they will write all sorts of stories. Because they are under pressure from the editor. And the editor is under pressure from the readers. What you have no news on the investigation. I said, there is no way I can do it without keeping the media informed. And very often, they are doing parallel investigation. What we come to know, the media also came to know the same time. But because the trust they had in me, I will tell them, please do not publish this for one more day. Because we are planning some raids, looking for some people. They honored me. So the perfect cooperation. So I always tell, keep the media on the right line. See, it's a relationship between the media and the police. These are two important who do the same job. Finding the truth, exposing, punishing the wrong people. Perfect coordination is absolutely necessary. If you have lack of faith in each other, it does a lot of damage to the public interest, because whether media suffers or the police suffers, the investigation suffers, is ultimately the society which suffers. So I always tell in the police academies, have interaction with the media, call the journalists people. And in the media houses, I tell them, please call the police officers to come and share their problems and all that. There has to be perfect coordination, understanding that we serve a common purpose ultimately. We have to respect the need for the media to keep public informed immediately. They can't wait for the investigation to be completed, charge sheet to be filed. That's not possible also. So we have to understand what can be shared, must be shared. Of course, now the role of information technology in media industry is all very well known. Revolutionary technological changes are only part of what is happening, which is unifying humanity and turning it into what is known as a global village. It is no longer sufficient to be print literate. That is, read and write. And the idea of audio or video visual literary has in turn been supplanted by stress on computer literacy. Literacy has become to be seen as the ability to use information in various forms. Professor Sasikala was telling now how the latest technologies are being taught and research is being done on the subjects. So the journalists are the future. In my case, I would have been only reading and writing. But today for you, the future, you have to balance the humanistic sensitivity that produces best journalism with new-found technological tools. Journalists must not settle for becoming mere scientist apprentices. They'll have to look at the impact of technology on values. So in the future, the mass media journalist may be the exception rather than the rule. The journalist will have to go deeper, more diverse understanding of communication, largely because of the way information will be stored in. We can conclude that IT has a great role to play in print, broadcast, electronic and auditory media. Without IT, media in this age of information cannot be survived. I would only once again, as an ex-lawyer, as an ex-police officer, and still a human rights activist, and in all the roles we are all fighting for justice and the right thing to be done. And I would say that once again I compliment you for choosing the right profession. No other profession gives the young mind the challenge and opportunities what journalism can do. I'm not telling here because I'm in the media university. As I told you, I wanted to be a journalist. I did not become a journalist because I was not confident of my language. Now I can see from the interaction here, your sound knowledge of the language, you have the courage, confidence, ask questions and all that. Be active. Be honest, that's most important, integrity. Why is it Dr. Abdul Kalam is so much admired all over? Yes, he was a great scientist, but there have been equally great scientists in this country also. Because he was essentially, my tribute I was telling the TV, he is one of the finest of human beings I have come across. I have known him 35 years. See the humility of the man. I will tell you, I will conclude then if there is any question. After he became president, maybe I knew him. He called me very next day, like this sitting across our table, very next day in Rashtrapati Bhavan. This I repeated recently in his presence when he was chief guest in my foundation's 10th anniversary, Dr. Karan Singh was also on the chair. I said, sir, do you remember the conversation we had when you became president? I was telling, it was all recorded. He called me and said, sir, he used to call me sir. I said, sir, don't call sir, you are older to me and you are president of India. No, sir, what is the harm? Well, friends are friends. How does it change? You have done the greatest service to the nation. You risked your life, I know very well. Your wife had a heart attack. They were trying to kill you, but you never yielded to any pressure. You investigated it successfully. You have done a lot of credit to the glory of the nation, prestige of the nation, security of the nation. So the nation owes a lot to you. These very words. Tell me, what is it we can do for you? Now I am the President of India. Can you expect a president to ask? And repeated it just few months back. It's recorded in his presence. I said, sir, nothing. I have done my duty. No, but they were trying to kill you. They were almost, and you have done this. Please tell me I must do something. I said, sir, nothing. I have done my duty only. No, but that is not the way. And I don't seek anything from anybody. I told him. You are not asking. I am asking as president. I said, sir, nothing. I have done my duty. Nothing. He said, please ask your wife. He knew Kalamma and tell me. I went to ask my wife. She said, what? You never ask for a favor from anybody. I know very well. Whatever God gives is what we deserve. She was that type. You asked the president. I said, he called me again. He said, ask him to go for a daily morning walk, take care of his health. And he called me again. I told him, this is what she says. She wants you to go for a daily walk and take care of your health. Sir, he said, why are you saying like this? Why don't you say what you want to come? I said, even if I ask something you can't do it, you would ask the Prime Minister to do it. I can ask Dr. Manmohan Singh, he will do it for me. I don't seek anything from anybody. He said, why? I said, if I ask someone, I know I will get what I wanted. I can become ambassador, governor, anything it can happen. Sometimes they ask me to do something which is not according to my conscience. If I do it, I lose peace of mind. If I don't do it, I have become ungrateful. I don't want to place myself in this position. This position is, I repeat him. One day, he called me late in the night. See the man's humility and nobility as President of India. He used to call at midnight, earlier, he has very late dinner and all that. He said, sir, when do you think first we met? See the innocent child-like innocence, Do you think it was in Hyderabad when you called me for a talk in your house? He was a scientist at that time. I told him, no. He said, I came to ISRO guest house in Madras. I used to be Deputy Commissioner of Police, lot of news, activities. I was in the raiding this and that and all that. He said, he was a scientist not known at that time. He said, I came to ISRO guest house at midnight. There was a police guard. I asked who it is. He said, Mr. Kartikeyan is staying there. I didn't want to disturb you. Morning 7 o'clock, I came and knocked at your door. You took about 5 minutes to open the door. You were in your lungi, dhoti, and then vibhuti, you know holy ash? In a banyan, opened the door and he said, I'm sorry. He said, I'm Abdul Kalam. I'm an admirer of yours. I wanted to say hello to you. He said, I'm sorry, I was in my meditation. This is over. I forgot about it. He tells me as President of India, calls me and tells me, but sir, I have told this story to any number of gatherings without mentioning your name. I have a friend, a great police officer, efficient person, very highly spiritual person. When I first met him, see, he will talk like this because he is so childlike innocence, I have told in many gatherings like this. So what I'm saying is, let us have humility. Whatever you may become, have humility. Be firm, don't compromise on your values. But reliability, credibility is important. The man is adored, respected because of his humility, integrity, values, and concern for everybody. Yesterday, when he was going to Shillong the other day, his PA sent a message. He was worried. In the pilot car, in such troublesome areas, we have a man standing, others will be sitting with a gun. He was so concerned about how long this man has been standing in the winding road. He was telling his secretary, please stop, ask him to sit down. There is no way of communicating, 1.5 hours he was only worried about that. So ultimately when he said, I want to meet him. So he was called. He said, was it not hurting you to stand all the time? He is the President of India. He is a policeman. We see it. He said, sir, a person like you, I can stand the whole life also. This is the last act before his. And then last month, when I met him, I told him, sir, you are not looking well. I know last 1 year he has not been keeping very good health. You are not keeping well. So please slow down. He said, no, I am all right. I slowed down. But I had to invite me, I had to go and talk to people. He used to tell me that our job, duty is to be available to people. I also travel 21 days in a month. I am not young. I am 76. I always tell them, if Dr. Abdul Kalam can do it, where you are wanted, you have to go, as long as there is energy in the body. So he's inspired millions of these countrymen. Humility, integrity, no compromise, and caring for people. The poorest of the downtrodden. He'll carry it. One more instance I will show how he is the greatest human being, he is loved and respected. One day, in Rashtrapati Bhavan there is a function. I think Venkata Subramaniam was member of the UGC or something. He released a book. So we were invited, we had gone there. After that, normally a function, there's a adjoining room, there big tea, high tea. Myself, my wife were also there. And though he is the host, they gave a plate to him and he picked up a vada. And you looked around, there were ambassadors, ministers, everybody. My wife, Kala, was a little away. I can flash back. He walks towards her, the President of India, and gives a plate to her. He said, please. He said, Ayya, neeng saapidunga. I said, sir, no, I am the host here, you must have it. But he tell her in Tamil, but the Rashtrapati food is not like your home cooked food. I'm telling you about the innocence, the childlike innocence. Nothing mattered to him. He was President of India, nothing mattered to him. Then she said, then why don't you come? No, yes, President David, allow me to go anywhere. He said that. This is later, after he retired, no? Yes. When he was president, my daughter lives in Melbourne. They had a 4-year-old grandson and 2 years. So they said, bring them one day. We took them and he was so kind. And he gave them he kept them a lot of toys and all that. And he says, and the president normally sits there. He asked my grandson Arjun, do you know how rocket is fired? He said, I don't know. I will show you. President of India takes the little boy and the girl, goes and sits in the chair on his computer. He says how the rocket is fired. The busiest man. So the goodness of the person. Much later, about 2 years back, when they came, they are grown up now. So they wanted to see him. Then he was telling about there's a tree, Rajaji Road. If you go, very fond of the tree. It's a 100-year-old tree. He was telling about the tree, how we must live like the tree. It gives shade, flowers, and he expects nothing from people, just serving. And he tells my daughter, like your mother. Years have passed. See, ultimately the man is not, because he doesn't belong to any political party, doesn't have a political following. Go and see yesterday rose hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, all young, mostly young people. And with all that, he didn't speak Hindi. But he won the hearts of people from all over the country. Goodness. Ultimately what matters is your goodness, integrity, and the transparent sincerity. I must do whatever is possible to this country. He got doctorates from 30 universities all around the world. Recently he was made honorary professor in Beijing University. And he fulfilled his responsibility to Shillong University. He went for the talk. High altitude, and he has not been keeping very well. He goes and talks, dear friends, before I start my formal talk to you, I want to share something with you. He said that, he collapsed. So, He lived in dignity, went in dignity, while doing what was dear to him, that is talking to the students. So it's a sad day also, but we are proud to have produced a man like him from a humble family. I have been to his house, very small house in Rameshwaram, and you all know very well. He's a fisherman's son, and while going to school evening, he went and picked up the newspapers to supplement the father's income and all that, Such a noble man, and thank you. I know, I think I just completed my 1 hour. I deviated from what many of them, because, the time factor. I wanted to share something on Dr. Kalam because of emotionally we are all fully, even now I'm going to try my best to reach Madurai and Rameshwaram. He was debating, he said, you can't take the liberty, but I said, I have never broken my promise in 50 years. And Dr. Kalam has sent a message, no holiday after I leave. You must have seen messages all over. If you really want to pay homage, work more extra day, more and all that. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
कोई प्रश्न अगर पूछना चाह रहे हो आप?
You see, unfortunately, I feel sad that I am not able to communicate with you fluently in Hindi, though I understand everything. You know what happened? At a time when we were in school, there was this anti-Hindi agitation in Tamil Nadu. Hindi was not allowed to be taught. So one generation suffered because of that parochial politics. I tell you, you learn as many languages as possible. Don't stop people from learning languages. It's a great asset. Okay. Media has an influence on everybody. And judges are also in the same society. They have not come from the heavens. They also do get influenced. CBI is concerned, as I told you, I wrote to the director at that time, I don't know whether I completed it, telling I didn't ask for this job. Nobody else wanted to do it in Delhi. They were scared. They said it's a blind case. What was there? One head was there. Rajiv Gandhi's body was mutilated. He was recognized by the loto shoe he was wearing. Front portion of the body was completely, blown off. Later on we found hundreds of pellets in the body. And one head was there, 2 legs and 1 hand, all faraway places. Nothing was there. So when they had a high-level meeting, both the Intelligence Bureau and the RAW, I have written the book also, they said, we don't know who could have done it. It could have been anybody. There was no clue at all. They openly admitted it. Then the director CBI, I was IG of the Central Reserve Police Force in Hyderabad. They all said Kartikeyan should be the man. Then Rangappan asked me, will you take up the investigation? I said, why me? I am not in the CBI. They said, no, everybody feels you are the right man to head it. I said, okay, I am an admirer of Rajiv Gandhi. I have nothing to do politics. If you read my book, I have given one copy to Sashikal also. It is coming in all languages. Called Triumph of Truth, which Dr. Abdul Kalam released it actually. See, I said I will not allow, if you want me to do it, because I am an admirer of Rajiv Gandhi, I would like to know who killed him. We could not protect him. But I will go from the crime to the criminal. I will not allow any politics. I will not allow any third degree on suspects. If you accept it. They accepted it, and I took up the investigation. So at this rate, I had a constant interaction with the media. I am telling you everywhere, media can be your best informant, best friend in any walk of life, particularly investigations, because they have sources. People share with them many things. So they were a great help to me. Even today in CBI, many matters, many of the tips come from the media people. Some of the youngest journalists will know. They come and share with you in confidence. They don't want their names to be kept. We don't reveal them, but then very often we find them true because people share with them. They would rather not with the policemen very often. It's a great help. There is no way any police administration can function either maintaining law and order or investigating the crime case without the willing cooperation of the media. It is true of all departments of government actually. Yes.
Good noon, sir. Myself Vasu Chore and I am from BSc Electronic Media. We are very familiar with Vyapam case and other schemes like it. And sir, CBI is known as most trusted agency of India, but still it is not independent. Why so, sir?
No, I agree with you. What you said is right. In fact, we have been suggesting, see, independence ultimately, judges are supposed to be independent. But still some are not. We know very well. Not people. It ultimately depends upon you, whether you want to be a slave or a king. Whether you want to be independent or depending upon your own conscience. As I told you, I refuse to take up jobs because someday they ask me to do something, I will not do it. It all, CBI, again in CBI also, I would say that is the most dependable, efficient agency for investigation today in the country. I won't say that all of them have done well. I won't say there have never been, wrongs done by CBI or failure to do the right things. They get influence, which is very wrong. But today, as it is constituted, it's a department of the government. It is not independent totally. Only in Supreme Court monitored cases, they tell the CBI, don't consult the government. But even then, if you ask me, is it not possible to influence the senior officers to the government? It's possible. But there are such cases, Supreme Court monitored cases, where CBI can go much more forcefully and independently. By and large, it is independent. I won't say that every CBI officer is independent or trustworthy. I won't say that. But the system is such, very difficult to do wrong things in the CBI. They can delay charge sheet. They can delay arrest. They can delay raid. It's quite possible being influenced also. But by and large, there are no other choice today. It has to be made independent. We are all demanding it should be made totally independent of the government and answerable only to the courts. But ultimately, again, the man who holds the office, how honest he is, how independent he is, how answerable to his conscience, depends on that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dharaksha and I am from Electronic Media, BSc, final year. Sir, in your so inspirational words, you said just before that media should be transparent. Transparency should be there. So, sir, if we look nowadays, then we found our country is becoming corrupted day by day, and day by day. So, sir, I want to ask you, in your opinion, what is the most thing, or I should say a striker for nowadays, that we should maintain our transparency in media and even in ourselves also?
Generally you are asking?
Yes, sir.
No, I tell you, the biggest cause for all evils in this country, I am making a very responsible statement, please listen. We could have done much better as a nation. Nations which were much poorer, much more corrupt, have got good governance today. Even South Asian countries, Hong Kong was like that, Singapore was not great. In many Seoul and many cities you go and see that biggest cause is corruption. Lack of integrity on the part of people in charge of administration, governance, politics or bureaucrats, whatever it is. That is unfortunately, that's a fact of life. It is only when you people, young people come up and function effectively, consciously, write about exposed evils and all that, unless the public are awakened to this menace, there is no remedy. Now, I know very well, the Prime Minister, I have had interaction with him, he wants to bring about, I'm talking much before he became PM also, he wants to bring about transparency, he wants integrity. But then the machinery is so vast, so much, it's not so easy. Not easy to do it. That's why, everybody, all the media plays the biggest role in this. Exposing corruption, chasing the corrupt people. Whether they get convicted or not, they should be humiliated in public so that they feel ashamed. That's the only way of doing it is corruption. Another thing I'm telling you, please focus your attention. Equally dangerous trend which is happening is drug addiction. Is going to be, I feel that it is not terrorism is not the biggest threat to this country. Terrorism is one part of that. But even terrorism is growing uncontrolled because of corruption. I would say the terrorism only the third. The most important menace of this country is lack of integrity, this corruption. Second is the growing menace of drug addiction. Frightening. I go all over the country, hear some of the stories. Young children get hooked up into this. People from good families. So not enough is written about it. I'm going to have a national conference on the menace of drug addiction shortly. Mental illness, like various things. We have got the foundation doing it. But you people, youngsters, can do some research, study, publish papers and expose them. It's a very difficult thing because the Commissioner of Police, Bombay, Rakesh Maria, tells me, sir, the problem is, compared to last year, we have booked 10 times more cases, drug addiction. But the problem is, when you catch all these people who are already victims, after a few hours in custody, they go and they just can't be without drugs. They got hit against the wall, they'll harm themselves. So we have to call the NGOs to come and take charge of them. And also there is some new drug which has come into the market, he was telling me. You can do some research on that. You write to Commissioner of Police Maharashtra, Bombay, Rakesh Maria. He says, forget some name, which is not shown among the banned items because a new one. He says it's not only addiction, it makes those people who consume, what should I say, they are mad of sex. They want to have somebody. That is the type of libido it takes up. See, whether you claim the victim or the society which is allowing this to happen, I don't know. But this is increasing. That's the most dangerous thing. I'm glad you asked this question. I would say corruption is the most important, biggest menace to this country. Second is drug addiction. Third is only terrorism. Thank you. Terrorism affects only few people. Thank you.
धन्यवाद कार्तिकेयन जी। कार्तिकेयन जी हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हुए, हमारे आग्रह को स्वीकार किया और उन्होंने आज सत्र आरंभ के आज के दिन उद्बोधन देने के लिए हमारे आग्रह को स्वीकार किया। उसके लिए हम उनका अभिनंदन करते हैं। और इस अवसर पर हम उनका शाल, श्रीफल और स्मृति चिन्ह देकर अभिनंदन करना चाहेंगे। माननीय कुलपति जी से आग्रह है कि वे हमारे आज के इस सत्र के वक्ता श्री D.R. कार्तिकेयन जी का शाल, श्रीफल देकर के अभिनंदन करें। इसके आगे का सत्र मीडिया का बदलता परिदृश्य इस विषय पर है और इस सत्र के संचालन के लिए श्री आशीष जोशी जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि वे आएं और अगले सत्र का संचालन का भार संभालें।